What's going on, guys? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to make a video talking about my UFC 309 card predictions. We all know that UFC 309 is coming up, and it's probably going to be headlined by Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic, and I want to talk a little bit about that fight, but I want to kind of make a prediction of the main card of who else I think could possibly be there, and make a card that would be incredibly fun for the fans to see. If you guys enjoy the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to help the channel grow, and while you're down there, please turn on the post notifications, and with no further ado, let's jump right into the video of matchmaking and making a UFC 309 card under Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic, which is the kind of consensus main event of that card. Okay, so first, we got Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic, and I kind of just want to talk about what this fight means for a card in NYC, and this is going to be a massive fight on the card. Now, I don't think it's the fight that needs to happen. I think that Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall fight is the most essential fight to happen at a UFC main event, and no other place to have it than Madison Square Garden. It would be so entertaining, have two absolutely bad heavyweights go down against one another in a fight to the death in some of the most savage moments in UFC history coming from Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. But Stipe Miocic is a good fighter to come in there. I understand it's a legacy fight. I understand that a lot of casual MMA fans know those two names rather than Tom Aspinall. So I do think that the card is still going to perform very good, and I do think that would be a very fun fight to have on that card. But what other fights could possibly be on that main event card? And I think that one fight that I think will be the co-main event will be an interim title between Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan, two for that lightweight title. And I think that last fight at UFC 300 was just so close that having another fight between Charles and Arman would be a very, very interesting fight to have. I know Arman Tsarukyan wants to fight for the title before year's end, and if he doesn't fight Islam Makhachev, he wants to fight for an interim title, and no other person in that UFC lightweight division would be better than Charles "Du Bronx" Oliveira. Charles Oliveira came off a win against Beneil Dariush going into this UFC 300 fight, where he got absolutely... he got cut with that Islam fight, and in UFC 300, he lost a razor-close decision to Arman Tsarukyan in a fight that truly could have gone either way, and that was one of the biggest fights in recent memory that needed to be 5 rounds. And yes, I understand that you can't make every single fight on UFC 300 5 rounds, because I would have enjoyed that, but truly, I think that Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan really needed to be a 5-round war, and so I think rebooking this fight, Arman got the win the first time, and truly, if one of these guys gets the finish and gets the win, that was the true winner of that fight. So I do think that a co-main event of Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira would be a very, very, very fun fight to be had on that card. Now, as the featured bout, I have a very interesting one to be had. I got Kamaru Usman versus Jack Della Maddalena. Now, Jack Della Maddalena is currently out of the UFC right now just because he's had a hand injury against Gilbert Burns. He broke his hand early in that fight. But I do think that Kamaru Usman has a massive name. I think that he's one of those fighters who loves fighting in NYC. He's done it once, I believe, but he always loves fighting there, so I think putting him back on the card for some absolutely massive name recognition would be an incredible thing to do. And against someone like an upcomer or Jack Della Maddalena, I think would be a very impressive fight to be had. Jack Della Maddalena is one of the UFC's best boxers, and he's someone who really, really, truly could have a very good time against someone like Kamaru Usman. Now he's just going to have to watch the wrestling and takedown threat, but I do think that Jack Della Maddalena has good takedown defense to be able to deter that. Kamaru Usman is one of those fighters who truly is so fun to watch. He last fought Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 294 in that co-main event on 10 days notice, which that was another fight that needed to be 5 rounds instead of 3, because I think it was 5. I think Usman could have possibly got the victory. But someone like Jack Della Maddalena versus Kamaru Usman would be an incredible fight to go watch, because these two are kind of polar opposites. Usman's the wrestler, and Jack Della is the boxer, but truly would make for an incredibly exciting fight. And that's why I think that Jack Della Maddalena versus Kamaru Usman should be the featured bout on that card. Now, the next fight I believe that I think should happen would just be a fight to get a massive name in there, and I think that you should bring Paddy Pimblett to the NYC. I think that would be an incredible thing to be done. And who would he go up against? Because I know Renato Moicano is the name that he wants to face, and that's happening at UFC Paris. He's fighting Benoit Saint-Denis, Moicano is, and that he probably won't be ready to turn around that quickly, considering that this would be Moicano's 3rd fight of the year. He fought in one of the first fight nights of the year, if not the first fight night of the year, and he fought on UFC 300 against Jalen Turner, getting one of the biggest wins of his career. But he's fighting Benoit at UFC Paris, so who should Paddy Pimblett fight? I think that a fight with Beneil Dariush as that fourth fight on that UFC 309 card would be an incredible fight to be have. I know Paddy Pimblett has been calling out Beneil Dariush, and I think that would be a great next step up in competition. Beneil's a great, well-rounded fighter. He's currently on a 2-loss streak to Arman Tsarukyan and Charles Oliveira, which I don't think is that bad, considering that Arman is going to fight for the belt next, and Charles Oliveira, is a former belt holder. So I think that Beneil Dariush's last 2 losses have aged incredibly well. Prior to that, he beat Mateusz Gamrot, which is an incredibly good win, considering that Gamrot just fought Dan Hooker. He's beat some of the likes of Jalen Turner and Rafael Fiziev, even though Fiziev tore his ACL. But truly, I think that a fight between Paddy Pimblett and Beneil Dariush would be an incredible fight to have on the card. We get all the Paddy the Baddy chants again in NYC and just promote Paddy that much more on that card. One of the biggest cards of the year, and truly it would be a fun sight to watch. To open up that main card, I got a very fun fight at welterweight that would be incredibly interesting. We got Carlos Pratas, who just beat Li Jingliang at UFC 305, facing Randy Brown. Now, Randy Brown called out Pratas last time, or in the past week or so, and I think that fight would be incredibly insane. Pratas is one of the newcomers to the UFC, where he's 3-0 in the organization, and Randy Brown has fought a bunch of different individuals inside the UFC. I know he fought Jack Della Maddalena, and he's been on a 2-fight win streak, I believe. So I think that Randy Brown is one of the veterans in the sport, and putting against someone like Carlos Pratas, who is an up and comer in the organization from that camp of fight nerds in Brazil, I think that would be an incredible fight to have. And truly, I think that it would be possible fight of the night to be had to open up that main card. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and please let me know what you think down below in the comments of my dream UFC 305 card. I think starting off the main card with a Carlos Pratas versus Randy Brown fight would be an incredible, great way to get off the night. A very fun fight to be had. Turn that right into a Beneil Dariush versus Paddy Pimblett war would be another really fun fight to be had. Flip that right back into a name that shouldn't be that featured bout on the card, in Kamaru Usman going up against one of the best up-and-coming welterweights in Jack Della Maddalena in a war in that welterweight division. Then have a banger of the night in Arman Tsarukyan defending against Charles Oliveira for that interim title, which would be a very fun thing. And top it all off with the card that is probably going to be at UFC 309 main event is Stipe Miocic versus John Jones. If you guys enjoyed the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And like I said, please leave a comment down below what you think about this take and this card. And if you want to help support the channel, please leave a like, or please subscribe. That is the best way to go do so. And while you're down there, turn on the post notifications just so you guys don't miss an episode that I upload daily. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.